It's Fill Your Plate Now, where every bite brings you closer to the farm gate and further from what's unhealthy. Now here's your hosts, Julie and Tammy, helping you live well by filling your plate well.
So the year is still young. Any New Year's resolutions?
You know, I have found that it's really tough to make New Year's resolutions because you really risk breaking them if you make them. And particularly if they're really big resolutions. I mean, every year I go to the gym, and in January, there's like triple the number of people. But by mid-February, it's back down to a much slimmer crowd. So I think the New Year's a great time to really have new goals. But I think you have to really be careful to not over-commit.
So I have a confession to make. I haven't even small bites or small resolutions, I haven't even come up with any yet. But I will say I do want to be consistent with the things I do, like my daily walks and trying to always eat healthy. But I haven't come up with anything new. I will tell you one other fun thing that my BFFs and I do. There's 4 of us in our group, and we've known each other for 35 plus years, and we get together obviously on each other's birthdays and stuff like that. But every year we come up with a new word. And
that's fun.
Yeah, we treat it like a theme word. We'll also center it around Bible verses, to help. And so this year my word is delight, which I know is kind of interesting, huh?
That is. How did you come up with that?
Well, one of my favorite Bible verses, I have to tell you, is delight thyself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So I thought, that's such a good word. And in the past, my word has been joy, but delight's a little bit different. So I'm going to have to do more like delving into that word and then just asking myself, Julia, are you delighting in the day?
We can see how many times we can use it in the podcast. It's a fun word. Delight sounds fun and lively and
right.
Yeah.
Another thing, too, that I think is, so we're pretty much moving into the second year of our podcasting for Fill Your Plate Now.
Hard to believe.
That's what I was going to say or ask your take on that. I mean, I'm shocked that we've actually already gotten through almost a year of this.
It's crazy. And the little synapses in my brain have just been firing nonstop with all the stuff we've learned with agriculture and some of our nutrition experts. It's been great.
What's been your biggest takeaway so far in just the process of managing this podcast? Thank goodness we have Brian, our producer, but
who's keeping us on track
and keeping us organized. What is something that's striking you about that you might not have ever imagined about this podcast?
I think what I have found that I really find delight in
I'm proud of you.
is just all that I am learning. I mean, we both have come from, you from more of an agriculture background, me from more of a nutrition background, but just all of the new things we have learned and the little tidbits we've picked up, there's always a learning experience involved with every guest. And I think that's been a delightful experience.
I'm so proud of you.
You're going to be so sick of this word after this podcast.
You're using my word more than I'm using my word, but I am delighted that you're using my word.
But how about you?
Well, I would agree with you. I might just steal your point that I feel like I'm walking away as the student being educated by our guests on whether that be agriculture or in the case of the nutrition guests that you bring on, nutrition. And I've already started making application of some of those real basic, small steps that aren't overwhelming based on some of the things that we've learned from the guests that we've had on, especially the nutritionists, because that's where my learning curve is very steep. It's not with you, but I'm with you. I feel like I'm the student in this podcast learning from our guests. It's been very revealing, very fun, and very exciting.
And I can hardly wait for all the guests we're going to be having on in 2026 because we'll keep on learning.
And what we can tell our listeners is that we've got a whole lineup of guests on the nutrition side and the farm gate side. And having fun securing those guests and making sure that we're providing content for you that's valuable and worth the listen. I know that a lot of times we're doing our walks or our exercise when we're listening to a podcast, which is the way we should do it because we're kind of doing double duty. But we want to make sure that we have content that's going to be valuable for you. And if you are in Arizona and you happen to know Julie Murphy at Arizona Farm Bureau or Tammy Baker at the Arizona Milk Producers, reach out to us and tell us some of the topics you're hoping that we'll cover as well, especially as it relates to agriculture and nutrition.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear what everyone is interested in, and also through the websites.
Yeah, the websites, and we're going to have a lot more content, and we've got recipes. You've got recipes on your site. We've got recipes on fillyourplate.org. And so I have some questions for you, though, in this segment where we're kind of quizzing each other. So one of my first questions to you is, what are the top 3 trends as it relates to nutrition for 2026?
I know we're together all the time, but we never have time to question each other. Actually, health and wellness is always one of those big, I'm going to do better this year topics. And as witnessed by going to the gym and seeing an increase in individuals there. And nutrition tends to be one of those areas where people want to make some resolutions or at least new goals to improve their eating habits. But for 2026, 3 of the bigger nutrition-related trends that we started to see in 2025, but they're continuing to grow in 2026, is to increase the amount of quality protein in our diets, to increase the amount of fiber in our diets, and to have better gut health.
Okay.
And when you talk about increasing the amount of protein, that's high-quality protein from primarily animal sources, and just making sure we're getting more protein at every meal to help with replenishing and developing muscle mass. That's really important.
Well, I can promise from the ag side of it, from the farm gate, the ranch gate side of it, we're going to present a lot of quality protein sources, and certainly from our farmers and ranchers that can speak to that, and the fiber point too. So, and the gut health. That's more going to have to come from your nutritionists.
The gut health, really, you're talking a lot about probiotics, and many times people reach to when it comes to protein, when it comes to fiber, when it comes to products for gut health, they're reaching to supplements, and that's really not the case. You don't need to reach for supplements. You can get all the high quality protein you want from like dairy and eggs and beef and pork and chicken and fish. Fiber, all your fruits and vegetables and whole grains, and you're also getting other vitamins and minerals. And then with gut health, you're talking about things like yogurt because it's got probiotics in it, and kefir, which everybody says it differently, but I say kefir.
I love it.
Kefir, whatever. Anyway, those products have a lot of probiotics and also are a great source of protein and calcium. So rather than reaching for an expensive supplement, trying to increase those 3 areas in your diet, you can do through food alone.
So how do we keep these health resolutions?
I think the most important thing is to keep it simple.
Okay.
We oftentimes will take on a big project. I know one year my goal, not my resolution, was to learn Spanish, and that lasted for a couple months because I was taking on too big a piece of the pie. I was not going to be fluent in Spanish in a few months, and then it got frustrating. So we want to look at what we want to improve upon and just think of a couple of simple ways to do it, because statistics show if we don't make huge, major changes, but small, simple changes, then we're more likely to stick with it. And in fact, if you cut 100 calories from your diet every day, you lose 10 pounds a year. And that's just an example of a simple little change. But if you stick with it and it's not insurmountable day by day, then you'll end up with great results rather than taking on some kind of a fad diet where you're totally changing what you eat, maybe losing the weight, but probably gaining it back.
My question to us as a species, the human, why do we always want to take it on so big? It's because, I love your point that it's the simple steps,
Yeah.
easy steps,
Yeah,
day to day.
Yeah, you look at what you do, as far as what you eat. I mean, we have to eat, So you look at what your diet looks like now, and you look at easy ways you can add more healthy, high protein, high fiber, probiotic foods in there. And the first thing you want to do is just start with breakfast. There's 5 real simple ways you can try to make your diet, nutrition, health better. Start with breakfast. If you start at the beginning of the day and add in a few of those foods, like a high protein food or a high fiber food, already got to jump on the day. I mean, you can have something like eggs if you have time, but if you don't have time for eggs, there's a lot of high protein milks that you can have to get that high quality protein. You can add vegetables in the morning. You don't have to eat breakfast foods,
Right.
to get some more fiber, or whole grains. You can have some yogurt and then add some blueberries and add some granola. And so you've got the fiber, you've got the protein, you've got the probiotics. But look for a few morning meals, or look at what you're already eating and try to add a few more things that will help you get those high protein, high fiber foods in there.
How we were talking earlier about what we're learning. And again, I learned so much from the nutritionist because that's just not my wheelhouse. And even from you mentioned that when you're shooting out the door and you haven't had time for breakfast, you grab a Fairlife, 30 grams of milk protein. So I've been drinking those when I'm running out of time or I want to recover after exercise.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
They're portable. The Core Powers from Fairlife have a nice high protein content. The Rockin' Proteins from Shamrock have a nice high protein content. Look on the label. They're 12 ounces. They're easy to hold in your hand.
Yep.
And you can get anywhere from 20 to 40 grams of protein in them, depending on which product you choose. So
Yeah.
there's a nice array to choose from and an easy way to add protein.
And consume on the go. What about hydration? We have had a guest on that was an expert in that, and that podcast was really popular.
Yeah.
So what's the whole issue with hydration? Anything new in 2026 or just...
Well, hydration is also very important. I mean, you can hydrate by drinking milk, by drinking orange juice, even by drinking teas and coffees. But it's important to continually be monitoring that you're getting enough fluid. It's like in the summertime when you see a car on the side of the road and the hood is up and there's steam coming out because there's not enough water in it. Your body is going to have a reaction somewhat like that if you get dehydrated. And those that are younger, kids, and those that are elderly, they do not have as good of a mechanism to test if they're starting to get dehydrated. If you're thirsty, you're probably already starting to get dehydrated. The best test is the color of your urine should be about a light lemonade color, and that means you're well hydrated. But hydration really helps with processing everything through your body. It helps with all of your bodily functions. So it's really a key to staying healthy.
To your point on that, then if your urine is dark, something is up. And one of the first things you may have to address is the hydration in your body.
Yes. The only other reason the urine would be darker in color is if you're taking a huge amount of supplements.
Okay.
And if you're over supplementing, then it ends up in the toilet because
Yeah.
your body doesn't need all that. So
Right.
that can also turn the color of your urine darker. But
Okay.
yeah, making sure you're getting breakfast to get the foods you need, making sure you're getting plenty of fluid so you're hydrated and functioning at your best. And then also, take a look if you're trying to make some healthy changes at what you're snacking on. You could a third to a quarter to a third of our calories come from snacking. So that handful of potato chips or tortilla chips or something that, may not be that healthy, and you think doesn't really matter because it's not a meal, can be a very important part of making sure you're getting the nutrients you need to be healthier. So plan your snacks. If you know in mid-morning you want something to eat, or mid-afternoon, or a lot of people like a late night snack.
Mm-hmm.
Plan what you're going to have and plan to have healthier options around, and try to make a few small changes in that way.
You did make reference to gut health. We discussed that a little bit. But again, those easy takeaway tips in 2026 as we move into this year?
Yes, I mean, yogurt and kefirs, those are great sources of probiotics. And it doesn't mean you have to have yogurt every single day, as a yogurt parfait. You can use yogurt in sausage. You can use yogurt in salad dressings. You can use it as a dip.
Okay.
All of those things can have yogurt incorporated into it. You can even use yogurt to marinate foods. So there's a number of ways you can add those probiotics to your diet, and that can help to stabilize your gut health and make you feel better.
And to our newer listeners, to Fill Your Plate Now, remember we had a nutritionist that her expertise is in gut health. So look up that podcast. I can't tell you the number episode, but look it, because I don't remember it.
Lacey.
I know. It should be off the top of my head.
Yes.
But look it up, and she was excellent. And we learned a lot.
She was.
So,
yes, there's so many things that contribute.
Yeah. Is there a fifth tip? Is there something else that I didn't really ask you, hadn't thought to ask you? And
the other area that's not strictly nutrition, but it plays into health in so many ways is exercise. I heard President Trump the other day say that he doesn't exercise. Exercise is boring. He's not going to do it. And there are people that fall in that category. And I would say for those people, what you do is you park your car further away from where you're going into. And so you get a little bit of a walk going in and
Sure.
a walk going out. You take stairs instead of elevators. Also, you just look at simple things like just getting up in the middle of the day and walking around the room, because it does help get the blood flowing and helps to get blood going to your brain and helps you with your thinking and with your working and whatever you're doing at that moment, studying. But exercise is very personal. It doesn't have to be, a regime that you don't look forward to. If you're social, go out and walk with a friend, or go to the gym with a friend, or go for a hike. If you like to just get it done, have some good walking shoes and go out and walk or run, and you can do that. But there are so many different ways you can exercise. You can do some sports. Pickleball's huge right now.
Yep.
But trying to get some kind of activity every day just helps to keep your body healthy, helps to relieve stress, helps your mental health. And, I like to go outside. I think it's just great to be outside, get that fresh air. And I know that's not always possible for everyone in all parts of the country, depending on the time of year. But just having that time to, let your muscles work a little bit and clear your head is always nice.
And in Trump's defense, he does play golf. And
That is the one thing he did say he liked. Yes.
And you do get exercise from the golf game.
Yes.
Especially if you don't ride around the cart too much. But walking, if it's an 18-hole golf course, that might be...
You can get quite a bit of exercise in if you're walking 18 holes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you just look what fits your schedule and what is something, again, that's a simple change in what you're doing. I think too often with exercise, people will try to take on a 3-hour bout of exercise, and you're not going to keep that up. If it makes more sense for you just to walk a little further from your car into the store or into the office, or take the stairs, then that may be, your solution.
Yeah, I've never been one to have to get the closest parking spot, because looking for the closest parking spot can be your frustration. So if I have to park way at the other end of the parking lot, or I just tell myself that's another way to get in the walking, that's not my exercise. I like to actually combine my quiet time with a morning walk.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just clear the head, think about the day to come, the week to come, and then in the meantime, you're getting your blood circulating. So, to me, walking is key. But now we're going to reverse the tables. You're going to ask me a couple of questions, and I've done some of my research because it's on trends and key concerns of farmers and ranchers. I had to reach out to them. So I may be reading from my notes a little bit.
Well, I mean, just like with nutrition, you want to pick a few things, keep it simple, try to make improvements, and we talked a little bit about the trends. So
Right.
After talking about nutrition trends, let's talk a little about ag
Yeah.
trends. What kind of ag trends are we seeing in 2026?
So like I told you, I went to our leadership with Arizona Farm Bureau, and I did some of my own sourcing and then just talking to some of the people that are trying to keep their thumb on the pulse. And at its core, agriculture in 2026 is going to be marked by a push toward resilience and dealing with those economic pressures that they're feeling. The climate challenges, anybody that farms outside is going to be dealing with climate because it's outside. If you are a hydroponic farmer or a greenhouse farmer, you may not have as many climate concerns, but climate challenges are always there for our farmers and ranchers. Drought here in Arizona, obviously. Technological integration. In a recent podcast, we talked to some of our farmer podcasts asking about that, and they have some interesting insights. But farmers and ranchers right now are navigating tight margins. Those tight margins are coming from low commodity prices, high input costs, and then barriers to trade. With so much of our crops, especially the cotton, that's pretty much an international crop. The majority of our cotton that we grow here in the state of Arizona, and between California and Arizona, we grow some of the most high-quality cotton around, but most of that is exported out. So we need good trade opportunities. So that's a challenge. And any trade disruptions when you're considering already those high input costs, low commodity prices, and then nowhere to trade. I listened to one cotton farmer just the other day say, think about it. If you lose one of your key customers in this trade environment, like with cotton, it happens to be China, and that's going to be 40% of your business income, you're going to be hurting. So we're hoping that some of these trade disruptions are smoothed over in 2026. And of course, mentioned it earlier, that cost volatility and certainly what I would classify as low commodity prices. The price for a pound of cotton is just not cutting it for what it costs for us. And then people say, well, quit growing cotton. Well, the problem with that is, for example, with cotton, it's a good rotational crop. It's healthy for the soil to rotate that between some of the other crops you grow. And there's other revenue streams with it, like cotton seed. So we can't just, and then you have the infrastructure of your farm built into cotton planting and harvesting. You can't just overnight shift your crop portfolio. In some cases you can, depending on what the crop is, but you can't with cotton. And one of the things that I like to share with people when they're asking me about key trends or trends in general, the Arizona Farm Bureau's 2026 priorities, I want to highlight that we're emphasizing policies for market stability, disaster resilience, because we're always facing those natural disasters, and empowering our producers amid these uncertain times. Right now in farm and ranch land, it's kind of tough. So those are kind of some of the trend things that I like to point out. For ranching, not just crop farming, the major focus is on rebuilding some of our livestock herds because, and this is particularly for your cattle, the U.S. production remains at historic lows, around 28 to 28.5 million beef cattle in America right now. And I had to write that figure down because I did not want to forget it. They're driving higher prices for you and I in the supermarket, obviously. So there are calls for expanded grazing access, because sometimes the federal government has limited some of our grazing access. We're hoping we can improve that. We want to improve our disaster recovery tools. And we want to create environments, and some of these organizations like the Arizona Farm Bureau is trying to do that, where we are supporting our young ranchers because, they're the next generation. If we don't take care of them, they're not going to be our older ranchers because they just won't simply be in the business.
Sure.
And there's a lot of discussion right now in terms of trends on the succession planning. I think nationally, the figure is something like 97% of our farms and ranches in America are family-owned. But then you look at another statistic from that same Census of Agriculture. The average farmer today is like 58 to 59 years old. Here in Arizona, it's even a little higher. It's like 60 to 61. Well, if we aren't creating an environment for healthy succession planning, and a lot of times that takes a good accountant, a good attorney, a good tax person. If the families aren't talking about that and we're not creating tools that they can access so the succession planning works, we won't have that farm there for the next generation. So succession planning is rising in importance. We may be a day late and a dollar short. Is that how the saying goes? We probably should have been pushing the succession planning for these family farms a little bit quicker. Because even in Arizona, even though our national statistic in terms of how many Arizona farms and ranches are family owned, it's still up there in the 90s. It's something like 95 to 96 compared to the national level at 97%. So truly, whether it's a small or medium or large farmer or farm family, the majority of them are family owned. So this succession planning is critical. And maybe I've spent too much on trends on that one, but it's really key, and it's important for whether you come from a farm family or you're just one of our consumers listening to our Fill Your Plate Now podcast. Cheer on our farmers and ranchers that we get some of these trend movements right, and one of them happens to be succession planning. And of course, there's always the technological advances. They dominate. When we interviewed the shark farmer recently, he talked about, technology, and sometimes maybe we invest in something and that particular farm doesn't need that technology, but the technology components, whether that be artificial intelligence, drones, precision agriculture, all these technological advances are still really critical in farming, because sometimes when we get it right, with some of these technologies, we can reduce our costs in other areas.
Which seems like a real positive.
Right. Yeah.
What are some of the other positive things you're seeing going into 2026?
So, I did sound a little bit negative there. No. We do see a lot of young people that say, I want to get into farming, but maybe they don't have any land or water. So there are programs out there provided for them. The Maricopa County Extension, for example, has I think it's a 16-week course for people that want to get into farming, and giving them some great resources and simple steps to getting into it. Because we have a lot of people that, while they won't be farming like the farmers you and I know, and like my mom and dad farmed a cotton farm out in the middle of nowhere, they might be doing some urban farming. And we can farm just about anywhere. We can have vertical farms. We can have farms that are started in an abandoned tractor trailer that, you put the lights in it and do the hydroponics. So rooftop farming. So there's a lot of places that people can farm. And so those, while I wouldn't call that trend new, we certainly have keen interest with our young people to have some form of, I want to grow this, or I want to raise my own hens, for eggs and stuff like that. So,
and what about diversification? Are you seeing more of that? I mean, when we talked with the shark farmer, he was doing some media that was bringing in income as well
revenue.
As farming. And I know breeding with dairy, sometimes it brings in extra income.
So all of the farmers I know have some degree of diversity. Even the cotton farmer, the one revenue stream is the fiber. Another revenue stream is the seed. We have some farmers that have even drilled down to that unit cost, and they sell their cotton to some of the big box stores for decorations. So, and then most farmers have a crop portfolio that's the cotton, wheat, and alfalfa for the traditional crops. So nearly every farmer I know has some form of diversity. Are we getting more into that? I don't know if that's a trend, but most of your farmers would tell you, using that old adage, it's too risky to put all my eggs in one basket. So I need a crop portfolio that's very diverse. I need to look for other revenue streams. I think when Rob Sharkey was talking to us, I think it came out that there's at least 3, if not 4 revenue streams. Because did you hear they were talking about the guided hunts or something that their family does?
Yes.
In addition, so then he's got this media business. And then they have some of their traditional farming. So it's very typical for our farmers and ranchers to be very diverse with their operations, so that one year, if one area of the farm is not doing well, then hopefully the other area of it is.
And I think they're very creative. And a lot of times when there is hardship,
Yeah.
a lot of these new techniques, technologies, ideas come out. I know the cotton farmers we talked to
Right.
went from the farming all the way to making the T-shirts.
Yep.
You had that whole vertical integration. Or you've
Yep.
had cattlemen, cattle women on that have talked about their saguaros and growing
Yes.
saguaro cactus.
That's a
well
small
as-
house, yeah.
Yes.
They have about 3 or 4 different revenue streams. I do not know how they keep up with it, but they do. And that's one of the ways that these farmers handle those downturns in the market, challenges with trade disruptions, all those forms. But it is also proof of the pudding that it's the reason why there's only less than 1% of Americans that are actually in farming. It isn't easy. It's an inspiring profession. Most people will tell you it's a lifestyle choice, but there's so much more to it, and we really need to celebrate our farmers and their commitments to it. So we've got some interesting trends coming down the pike in 2026, and I think some of them are even scaling up a little bit more than maybe it might be in that technology implementation area again, but maybe it's the emphasis is a little bit higher, for example, in the artificial intelligence and what that can bring to them so that they can maximize on their operations and move quicker and reduce labor in some other areas. So
It is
it's going to be fun
exciting
to see.
to see some of these changes. What do you see? I know you're talking about what all the farmers are you've talked to have said, but what do you see as some of the things coming down the pike in 2026?
Pretty much the same things. The technology implementations, working toward making sure that their bottom line works by managing some of those challenges that are taking place, whether it's low commodity prices, high input costs, and trade disruptions. So pretty much some of the same things.
Okay. And what are you most excited about?
Well, for me, I always love the guests that we bring on. And I think this year we're going to have some really interesting people on, whether that be on the farm gate side, which I typically bring to the mic, and then on the nutritionist side, which you bring onto the mic. When we look at our list of people that we've been soliciting and that have told us yes, I think our listeners can really look forward to this 2026 year of Fill Your Plate Now.
So is this a tease for the 2026
Yes.
years? Okay.
Yes, it is a tease.
Stay tuned in. Yeah.
I do want to add on some of the other points, going back to farmers, what they're really into. I also thought it would be fun to share with you what Arizona Farm Bureau is very focused on behalf of our farmers and ranchers, because the reality of it is a lot of our farmers and ranchers, certainly here in Arizona, your dairy farmers for the Arizona milk producers, are listening to their number one concern or focus is water scarcity and management. They're also really keen on supporting labor.
Labor and water.
Right,
Those are the
labor
two
and
big
water.
ones. Yes, absolutely.
Available legal labor. Taxes and economic issues are really important for our leadership within your organization and mine. The environmental and land use regulation environment's really important to them. And then I kind of alluded to this earlier, but that trade and market access, if we can make sure that there's a good playing field for our farmers to get those things out. Energy and infrastructure, haven't really alluded to that. And then farm policy and support. The broader farm policies, including a modernized farm bill, your board, really wants to see a modernized farm bill, and so does my board or the leadership. And by the way, that leadership is our farmers and ranchers boots on the ground. So we might be speaking on behalf of our organization, but we're really speaking on behalf of our Arizona farmers and ranchers and the broader nation as a whole. So those are some of the other things that I wanted to highlight in terms of what we're hyper-focused on. We won't get boring for our listeners, but some of these issues impact them just as much as they do us. We need to make farming prosperous so it's economical for you, the consumer, when you go into the grocery store or to the farmer's market.
No, I think, all of those are valid points, and absolutely. I mean, you're dealing with environmental factors, you're dealing with workforce, you're dealing with policies and things that haven't changed in a long, long time. And so they're inching their way forward on it and working on it all the time. And, all of it is to provide food for all of our consumers that is healthy and available and reasonably priced.
And one of the things that I am loving what you and I are doing, and I hope this is coming across, and our listeners will tell us if they think we need to tweak that a little bit more, but I feel like our role/mission is to help people recognize how straightforward some of this is. It's not that complicated. Even when we discuss how to find local or how to even shop in the grocery store, I mean, I love what you've said so many times, and I've said too, is, shop the outer aisle and stick with your basics. Your website.
Yeah, ArizonaMilk.org and Arizona Farm Bureau both have recipes to help you utilize a lot of this fresh and local product that is out here.
On fillyourplate.org is where we host most of our recipes for us. And just one caveat to that, any foodie website does need some searchable recipes, but like you guys, what makes ours so fun is a lot of those recipes are coming from our farmers and ranchers. And we did that on purpose. We want to highlight them. Down-home food, some of it's comfort food. Some of it might not be like, we have our optimally healthy recipes, but some of them might be more comfort food but it's just so fun. And there's so many resources out there. And I think your role, my role, is to provide resources that are going to be easy for our listeners and just to celebrate the whole farm gate to plate.
Yeah, and for 2026, we'll continue to pull all that together and move forward, provide recipes, provide culinary tips, provide information on agriculture and the importance of having healthy foods in your diet and supporting the ag community. I think all of that, we're going to have a lot of segments to talk about all of that, and I think it's going to be a great year.
We'll have fun. I'm excited about 2026, even though I haven't put together my New Year's resolutions.
Goals.
My goals.
Yes.
But I will tell you that I've made application of several of your straightforward, basic, simple, easy steps.
That sounds delightful.
It sounds delightful. Yay.
And with that,
Yes,
wraps up another segment. But looking forward to 2026 and all that's ahead of us.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you.